I'm well delighted. Our next guest, an ex-NATO commander who knows all about this, Rear Admiral Parry. A very good afternoon, Chris. How are you?
Hi, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm good. You know me, we can talk about V-Day, but then I want to talk more about how I want this younger generation to understand. Put into words, serving man for many years, you reached a level that few could only dream of. What does today mean to you? More importantly, what should it mean to those who don't understand and have no knowledge?
Well, Jeremy, you highlighted it just now. I think we remember the sacrifice and the sheer exertion required to defend our liberties in those days, and also to face down probably the most evil totalitarian regimes that the world has seen. But let's not forget, we had to see down another totalitarian regime in the Cold War as well. For me, it is personal. My father served in World War II. My mother, still alive, was strafed by a Luftwaffe plane. 13 of her classmates were killed in Bromley. I've been in touch with her today, and it's very important. We have to remember just how evil the regime that we were facing was. It not only industrially killed people by their millions, it also had allies in the Japanese that did the same in the Far East. What it should mean to us today is we're seeing echoes of those regimes with China, Russia and Iran today, and we need to face them with the same fortitude, effort and sacrifice right now. I've been saying to my students this week, we're not in peacetime anymore. No. We're in a deterrent time. We have to deter these threats to our freedoms and liberties. And we also have to be united in our own country about what our values are and what it is we seek to defend.
Do you believe, I don't want to make it too political, but do you believe that the results of that by-election last week, and also those local council elections, which saw reform, it was an extraordinary result? And yes, there will be people who will say midterms and, you know, that's what happens. But to me, it was pretty seismic, and it was the moment at which the British people refused to be taken for idiots any longer. And James Price, you won't have been listening because you've been running around, I know you will have been, but he was saying that we've always been known as the nation that does right by everybody, the nation that behaves in the right way, the nation that sort of morality was always there. We were always caring, we were always moral, but we've reached a point now, because we seem to be governed by ideology, because we seem to reach out to almost anybody bar our own, where I think the British people are going to be saying, hold on a minute, I'm not racist, I'm not unconcerned about what's going on in the world, but right now there are things in this country that need addressing. And I think that patriotism from V-Day, 80th anniversaries, I think all of this is interesting because I think it's all part of it. You just talked about values. Every value that I was brought up to believing is trounced by today. It's not right, it's this, it's this, it's this. I hear people tell me Winston Churchill was racist. I'm not painting Winston Churchill out as a hero or somebody who was perfect the whole time. But all those people that slag off Winston Churchill wouldn't be sat in their bleeding houses with the liberties and the freedoms they've got today if it wasn't for what happened all those years ago. And that really tends to wind me up, because I want people to be educated and understand that this country, it's called Great Britain. I fear we're losing that, and I sort of rail against it, Chris. Do you know what I mean?
There's a yawning gap between our political class and the great British people. I trust the British people to make the right decisions about their present and their future, quite frankly. But I'm afraid, have abdicated our sovereign rights to people who are not worthy of it.
I completely agree. Did you see the Reform thing today about the flags? This afternoon, the chairman of Reform, Zia Youssef, has announced that the 10 councils that they control now, the Union flag and the St George's Cross will be the flags that fly from those buildings. Immediately Labour's jumped up and go, what about the Ukraine flag? Nobody's saying about the Ukraine. They're saying we're going to replace an ideology that apparently says that if you fly the St George's Cross in your garden or off your building, that's being disrespectful to other religions, despite the fact that everybody else seems to do it. It's an absolute bugbear for me, that, by the way.
No, I mean, absolute double standards. Everybody's talking about two-tier this, two-tier that. It's true. We are bending over backwards to accommodate the sensitivities of people, frankly, who should be grateful to be here in this country. If you want to be British, then you've got to start declaring that you are proud to be British. I'm one of those people, Jeremy, who believes you shouldn't have dual and multiple passports. You know, you should have a single passport if you're British. You shouldn't have the ability to say, well, actually, today I'm happy to be Albanian, Pakistani, or American. No, you know, you can have various visas to actually allow you to have better entry and exit procedures. But frankly, if you're a British passport holder, you've got to uphold the heritage, the values, and the sort of community that we seek to uphold. I'm sick to death, particularly from this government, of hearing about various splinter communities, these sort of enclaves or colonies that exist within our country. We have a single national community. And if people aren't prepared to subscribe to a single national community and all that brings with it in terms of heritage, in terms of pride, and in terms of commitment, then this isn't the country for you.
I mean, I think that's the point. It was made just now, wasn't it, in a text from somebody who said, you know, I wonder how many of those migrants who have found their way into this country will be celebrating VE Day. To me, I've never understood this. You'll be able to describe this far better than me. I've listened to people tell me all these people are coming from war-torn countries. That's claptrap. I don't understand. If you were escaping a war-torn country, bring your wife and kids. And to the first place, it's not bombing. You stay there. But here's the thing.
But also, Jeremy, they're going back for holidays and to these war-torn countries and places. If you go back to a country from which you have sought asylum, you should be denied re-entry. It's as simple as that.
But my point is this. If I take you at face value and you're coming to this country because so much of your own country is heinous and unsafe and whatever, and it ties into what you just said on VE Day, why do they, and so many of them, spend their entire lives and time here slagging off what we are, slagging off who we've been, slagging off how we do everything, and trying to imprint on the British nation stuff that apparently they didn't want anything to do with, which is why they came to the United Kingdom in the first place? I think that's a really relevant point. I really do. Yeah. I'm with you. Embrace. You know, I tell this story every night of a guy who drives me when I get to the station if I haven't got my car. He came over from Bangladesh 40 years ago with his dad. His dad said to him and his two brothers, you will be proud of this country, the opportunities you've been given. He's set up a really successful taxi business. He pays his tax. His kids are English. He's probably as patriotic as you and me tied together, Chris. And I love the bloke. He does not understand how you can come here and sponge and slag it off, and neither do I. But more importantly, I think the British people have probably reached a point where they're going, can't do this anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, Jeremy, simply we've got people who've come over here and they've colonised us. You know, they're using us as an economic platform. They're not actually subscribing to the society in which they're living. You know, I've tweeted today, in the last 10 days, we've seen an amphibious landing by a whole brigade's worth of people on our shores. Now, you know, I'm an ex-amphibious commander. That takes some doing. But, you know, a full brigade has landed on our shores. By the end of the year, the equivalent of what we landed on D-Day will have landed on our shores.
Beyond me, Chris, it's always a pleasure, my friend. We hope you enjoy the rest of your bank holiday Monday like me, chasing children around. Blessed little children. Blessed. Thank you very much indeed. 20 minutes to 5 o'clock.